Good evening, everybody. Um, Welcome to the Tuesday Night Principled Chiropractic broadcast sponsored by DE and Band of Brothers around the world. I am your first time hostess with the mostest, Dawn Maynard, down here in Charleston, South Carolina. And we are ready for another great call tonight. I just want to remind you that DE is in something like 6 or 7 weeks. So get yourselves ready for that. Make sure you register. Also, because the Braves are doing their thing, make sure that you go ahead and book your hotel rooms so we don't run into problems like that and we have more Braves fans than DE people in the hotel. So make sure you get that hotel booked, get yourself registered. If you want to take an extra day, go down to Atlanta Thursday morning. The GCC is doing the Great Chiro Cup. You can come down and play around a golf with my sassy teammates that we're getting together. Get ready for that. That ought to be interesting. But yeah, so the GCC is doing the Chiro Cup. Registration is at 8. The shotgun starts at 9, and there's going to be lots of fun and lots of good times and fellowship that day too. So lots of great things ahead. We've of course got the DEs in Florida after the October one. So we've got the upcoming schedule there, and just go ahead and start marking your 2024 calendars. It's coming fast, fast and furious. All right, so tonight our speaker, gosh, man, the first time I ever heard him speak at DE on a Sunday just blew my mind. And I know tonight's not going to be any different. He is full of passion. He's full of purpose. Please welcome from Mississippi, Anthony Lopez.
What's up, everybody? Happy to be on the call tonight. As Dawn said, I'm super excited for DE coming up in October. I look forward to DEs just about more than anything else in the year. Brian Lieberman one time told me that when you decide to plant the DE dates on your calendar, your practice changes. And since the time he told me that, I feel like our practice is definitely doing that. And it really means a lot to show up and be around like-minded people that you can grow with and, bounce ideas off of. And, whether they're mentors or, whether there's somebody that's younger than you, you can always take something from someone. And so DE is amazing. I'm sure if you're on this call, you already know that. But maybe for that one person out there, that's possibly on the call tonight that has never been to DE, let this be kind of a call to action to you to get signed up for October and make sure to get there because it's literally changed my life. I started going as a student and, it drastically influenced everything that I did decision-making wise, the people that I hung out with, the way that I practice, the way that my mindset was outside of practice, with personal life stuff, but then even like getting out of school and being able to even withstand the different stressors and stuff like that come with starting your own office and stuff. I feel like I was able to do that. And a lot of my friends were able to do that who were grounded, in the principle. And so you definitely get that at DE. Another thing I love is the Atlanta Braves. And so I'm like, as she said, I'm from Mississippi and we don't have a really any sort of professional team here in Mississippi. So we have to kind of, get grafted into other fandoms. And so I'm a huge Braves fan. You guys anybody else that's a Braves fan out there, thank me for leaving Georgia, because the entire 4 years that I was in Georgia, the Braves did not make the playoffs. And as soon as we came back home and to Mississippi in 2018, we made our first playoff appearance, since before I went to Chiro school. So here we are. Big Braves fan, and I'm excited to see what they do throughout the postseason. But we're not here for the Braves tonight. We're here for chiropractic and really growth, right? And so when I was kind of thinking about what I wanted to talk about, what it really comes down to when you're giving a talk like this is like, what is going to come out of me more naturally? What is going to be a little more innately driven, not necessarily educated? There's definitely some notes I took down. There's definitely some thoughts that I want to share. But before I go into anything that I really want to, I guess, focus on as far as the talk goes, I want to give a couple of different highlights from this last DE, a couple of different things that I jotted down that I felt like really stood out to me and will actually give more credence to DE, especially for someone maybe out there that hasn't been before, or even if you have, it'll bring you back to sitting in those chairs and listening to these powerful individuals speak these words. So just bear with me here as I read some of these. There was nothing special about Dr. Sid. He just tapped into this thing and he ran after it his entire life. Talking about chiropractic. He tapped into the power of chiropractic and he ran after it. He chased after it his entire life. This was from Dan 2. And I think that's super powerful right off the gate there, right? There was nothing special about Dr. Sid as much as, and granted, I never met him. I know that obviously there was a lot of attributes about him that we loved, or as people we loved. And even me listening to a lot of his talks and things like that to this day, there's things I loved about him, or I love about him, but there was really nothing special about him. The only thing that was special, or the only thing that really like made him who he was, is he was sold out for this principle of chiropractic. And I think we can do the same thing if we tap into it. Another thing from Dan 2, most people are one decision away from an amazing life. What's your one decision? What is that one decision for you? Right? And if I have time, I may go into that a little bit today of what I feel like the one decision was for me that kind of hit me. But that's a big one. Dean Santilli. Sometimes there are seasons where you catch nothing, but in your mind, you're catching everything. Sometimes there's seasons where people are vacationing all the time. Maybe you get a lot of people discontinuing in your office. Maybe if you're a student, you're struggling through some classes, right? In your mind, you're crushing all of this. In your mind, nothing is going downhill. In your mind, you see yourself succeeding, right? That's the gist of this, right? So super powerful. Another one, this is from Zeus. We may never see the fruit of the vision that we embark on, but it's okay because it's not about us, right? It's not always easy being a principal chiropractor. We come against some difficult things sometimes, right? We love what we do, but then we look over at like a friend or a colleague who's maybe making more money than us, seeing, half the amount of people that we're seeing. They're not working as hard, but they're making more money, right? That's not always easy to look at and see, but it's not about us. It's about the prosperity of our profession by us speaking the truth of what we do and focusing solely on that so that people get it and they can get rewarded by that from the benefits that exist, right? That was from Zeus. I don't know if I said that or not. Anna, the wound is the place where the light enters you. That might be the most impactful one of the entire DE. So we think about this a lot. We go through difficult times. We go through stressful occurrences and different things happen, right? But the place where the light enters you is through that wound. Those difficult situations, those trials, those tribulations, they actually help us. They can help us if we choose to use them in that way, right? If we choose to see that. The wound is where the light enters you. So good. And then lastly, Judson, you can rah-rah all you want, but when the time comes to step up, what holds you back? And he said this because he had earlier in the DE, they'd issued a charge for all of us to make videos talking about the Atlas. And at that point, a lot of people had not made those videos, right? And this was like a call to action because a lot of us have numerous friends on Facebook and social media outlets. And there was like, this is a literal free opportunity to put a video out, some kind of content out to push this message of chiropractic forwards. If you have nobody that comes into the office from it, it doesn't matter because someone's going to see that and it's going to mean something to them, whether they come into your office or whether they come into an office, hundreds of miles away from you. It doesn't matter. You've got to put content out there. You've got to step up when called upon to help push our profession forward. If you won't do something like make a video, will you sign up for the ICA? Will you help build the ICA back to where it was? Will you do things to support a profession when it's actually called on you, right? So that's kind of what I got out of this. And so just some really powerful things there through that weekend that I'm sure a lot of you guys are thinking, like, oh, I remember them saying that, right? So yeah, kind of shifting gears here into the subject that I really want to talk about. And what it kind of amounts to for me is building a life centered around gratitude. I think it's so easy in life to get consumed with all the different things that happen to us, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. It's so easy to get bogged down, especially during the difficult times. But in all actuality, I think we get bogged down during the good times too. And we start coasting, or we start being like, yeah, life is good, no problems, whatever. And we get off purpose. We get off purpose in what we're called to do. Sometimes, it's fat cat syndrome, where we just kick back and we don't work hard to keep pushing towards our goals and what we really want in life. And then other times it's the negative things that happen, right? Where like we're getting down on ourselves, and we lose sight of reality because we're so focused in on all the bad things that are happening. Well, since last DE, I've actually had a lot of things happen, specifically here in August. I'm not going to go into all the different things, but it's been a lot of I would say, difficult situations to overcome and to work through. And I know the first 2 weeks when things were happening, it was just like literally one thing after another. And you're like, what is happening? Like, this is just insane. And I got to thinking about it. The more I thought about that, the more I got stuck in that, the more I got like trapped into that mindset, the more my wife was getting trapped into that mindset. And we were saying things that weren't consistent with how we view the world and how we view life, right? And so it comes down to, like, it's easy to be positive, it's easy to be optimistic when things are great, but when life slaps you in the face, how do you overcome that? What do you fall back on, right? And so for me, what I rely on is gratitude, right? Whenever I graduated in 2018 from Life U in Georgia, I was so grateful for the time that I had spent in school. I was so grateful for the time that I got to spend in the Lieberman's office with Dr. Rebecca, and of course the Liebermans and their staff. And I was so grateful for the relationships I had made through DE. I was so grateful for the relationships that I had with my family and getting to come home and to serve this community. I literally sat down every single day, every single morning, and I would write down a whole list of things I was grateful for. Right. And so that's where my attention and my focus was. So whenever like any kind of fear, anxieties or doubts, anything like that, whenever it entered into my mindset, I was like, I don't really care. I'm not worried about that because I'm focused. I'm laser focused on where I'm going and how grateful I am for the things that I know God is doing through me, that my intelligence is leading me and guiding me through. Right. And so it's like you're building up defense mechanisms to take over whenever you get in those stressed out states, right? So anyway, what I've found over the years is I've kind of moved away from that. I've moved away from the attitude of gratitude, that Oasis is so good at before his talks, right? Just like having an attitude of gratitude before every single day. And it doesn't have to be, and doesn't have to look like exactly like what I was doing before, where I sit down and take 5-10 minutes and write down all these little things. But there's so much to be grateful for every single day that we forget about. Things right in front of us. We wake up, most of us are waking up, in maybe our own homes or apartments, right? We're blessed to be able to have those. There's right down the road, there's a lady who right now is like, she's there most days. She has like a tent that she covers herself, and she has an old garbage cart, not garbage cart, like a shopping cart rather, and she's got also a whole bunch of stuff in there. Looks like just a bunch of junk. And I don't know if she's homeless. I don't know what she's actually doing there, but she's there most days of the week. And I've never stopped and like actually had a conversation with her, and I probably should do that. Maybe this is the sign to do that. But I need, like, I'm wondering, like, why can't we as people remind ourselves every single day that we're so grateful just to have a roof over our heads, just to have a family that cares enough about us, just to have our mental health to be able to think through things and prosper in life, right? So kind of a side track there, but it's all goes back to gratitude. Like, what are we focused on, right? What are we focused on each and every day? Because when the storms come, you have to have something to anchor to, right? So with that, what I would say is, like, when we're going through those tough times, like, what do we end up attracting into our life? Because if you're focused on all the negative stuff, you're going to attract more negative stuff. You're going to attract more negative energy. And I think we could all agree that's not something that we want to do. And on top of that, why do we get away from things that we know work? Why do we stop visualizing the life that we want to create whenever we get comfortable? Why do we stop doing things that we know have already established success? And then we start getting so overcome with running and chasing and, achieving the next obstacle or getting through the next obstacle and achieving the next goal, that we become just filled with angst and anxiety about achieving that, instead of like resting and not resting like as in we stop working, but like resting in gratitude for what we have, which is what basically put us in the situation we're in the first place. So that's something I'm working on. Again, especially since we have been going through some stuff, right? So what's holding you back, right? Judson said that. I think in a lot of ways, fear and doubt and stuff like that creep in when we're just consumed with angst and anxiety about what the future holds. The same things that I had whenever I graduated that I feel like I kind of breezed through, I'm having again right now as we're getting ready to expand into our new office space, right? It's like we're getting ready to expand into this new office and all these things are happening. We're trying to design it, we're trying to make sure we're doing everything structurally that makes sense for the growth of the space into the future. And we got all these decisions that need to be made. And I can get bogged down by all that stuff because for me, I like simple things. And so when I'm given a ton of different options, I get a little overwhelmed and I get decision fatigue, I guess you could say. Like I get tired of making all these different decisions. But Brian Lieberman one time told me that this was referring to something different, but he was basically like, instead of focusing so hard on making the right decision and putting that kind of pressure on yourself all the time, instead of doing that, just focus on making the decision that you make right. Instead of focusing on making the right decision, make the decision right. And so basically what that tells me is I can take some of the weight of all these decisions off of me and just operate in gratitude, not try to figure out everything and overanalyze, but just make a decision and move forward and make it the right decision and pivot if I need to pivot and fix some things or tweak some things, but just move forward ultimately. And so really powerful, really, really powerful. So anyway, kind of going back into gratitude, right? When you're talking and when you're thinking about gratitude, what are some things that I feel like we need to consider, right? A lot of times we think of the big things like, oh, I'm grateful for my office, or I'm grateful for my wife, or I'm grateful for my spouse, or I'm grateful for my friendships. But sometimes we forget like the simple things, right? So I'm grateful for my health. I'm grateful for my strength. I'm grateful for having a voice. I'm grateful for, my clothes, like simple things. And so I kind of break it down into three different things. You want to be grateful for things that are really focused on like yourself. Like I'm grateful for, again, some of the things I just mentioned, health, strength, wisdom, that kind of stuff. Then you got like life. I'm grateful for things in my life. So I'm grateful for my house. I'm grateful for my practice. I'm grateful for the people that trust me with their care. I'm grateful for chiropractic, like all of these things. So then we kind of have that category. And then we've got the world. What are we grateful for in the world? Like the things that exist. Well, chiropractic, I guess, would also kind of fit. Like I'm grateful for the world. I'm grateful for like, the certain law. Like if you, in Mississippi, we just basically got to where we can have religious exemptions for vaccinations, which is huge for us because when I moved here, we didn't have that. And that was definitely a hindrance moving forward for my family and I, like being comfortable having kids basically, and like sending our kids to school and figuring all that out. Because again, I'm an overthinker and I have to make sure all my ducks are in a row and I want to make sure we're good. Well, grateful for laws being passed that we now have religious exemptions to where we could send our kids to school and they can have, that opportunity to go to school and be a part of sports and different things. I know there's homeschooling and other ways to be involved with that, but my wife, that was a kind of a value of hers that she wanted our kids to be able to go to school. So anyway, that would be an example of something, in the world, right? So yeah. And here's the big thing, guys. Here's the big things with gratitude. We all do this and we just need to be aware of it as it's happening, right? It literally just happened today in the office. So a lady comes in And she's like, I'm so happy that we got some rain today. As she's laying there and we're about to get adjusted. And so she's like, I'm so happy we got some rain today. The thought that came in my mind was, yeah, me too, because down here we haven't had a ton of rain at all. I'm sure in a lot of other parts of the country it's similar, especially down here in the South, but it's been really, really dry here specifically. But she said that, and in my head, I'm like, but it would have been nice to have some more, right? And you guys probably already knew where I was going with that. But it's like, why can't we not have that caveat? Why can't we just be grateful for the rain that we got? Be grateful for the 100 people that came in this week. Be grateful for the 5 new practice members that came in this week. Be grateful for the 300 practice members that you saw this week. Whatever it is, be grateful for that. And at the same time, still be hungry enough to keep pushing and keep working to move forward, right? There's a big difference in there to me, like between that. Because I could easily sit here and say, oh man, we saw, and this happens all the time. I'll be like, oh, we had a really good week. We saw, 320 or whatever. And I'm like, man, but that's not 350. And like, it's like, why are you focused? Why would you steal joy away from what you've accomplished and what God is doing through you for these people and belittle something that is quite the accomplishment? Like, sure, it's not, you haven't reached the end of your vision yet, but like I mentioned before, like what Zeus said, you may never see the end of your vision fulfilled, right? It may be something else that happens that takes it there, that, moves the needle, if you will. You just have to control your part and be grateful for the part that you play, right? I think of it like an analogy, for instance, is like, if I love pizza, right? Super unhealthy pizza, like Dan too and I connect on this, right? I love pizza and I could probably eat it every single day. But at the same time, when I go home tonight and I eat, let's say I eat a steak, right? I eat a steak or some chicken or something like that. It's going to be great. Whatever I decide to eat is going to be great. And it's going to fill me up. Like I'm going to be full, but I'm probably in my head, I'd still be like, man, but a pizza would be good. Right. So why can't we just, but the feeling of being full is what's going to carry me over past that. Like I've eaten, I've gotten my fill with something, but like that craving and that desire is still there. Right. And that's okay. That craving and that desire to push and to work and to reach goals and all that stuff, it should be there. Right. Because we're people with big vision. We want to impact a lot of people. And in order to serve the masses, we have to have that. But at the same time, we also have to be grateful for where we are at currently and the meal that's in front of us. Be grateful for every single person that comes in. One of the things I like to do when someone comes into the office and we're about to get them checked is I like to think of one of my favorite things about them before I even adjust them. It really allows me to like focus in on them. Right. And sometimes that's hard because we have difficult people, just like you guys, but there's always something to find to be grateful for with those people. Even people that, like, we had a lady that discontinued early this week. She had 2 visits and she was doing a lot better with the 2 visits, but she had a long way to go. She was doing a lot better with the 2 visits. And she calls and she has a conversation with my CA and she says, we started going to a different office, or I started going to a different office. They were a little more comprehensive is what my CA told me. And I'm like, comprehensive? What does that mean? Like, I guarantee no one sat down with you and went through your health history in the way that we did. I guarantee no one educated you about chiropractic in the way that we did. And I guarantee you that no one adjusted you like we did and was as thorough and had some functional changes and things like that you could measure after your adjustment. So it was like, to me, I was like, what is she talking about? But then in that same moment, I'm like, let it go. Let it go. I'm grateful that she came in here. I'm grateful that we got to serve her. I'm grateful that we had the opportunity to do that. But I'm also grateful that she's not here anymore, because if she was here and she forced herself to stay here and she wasn't happy for whatever reason, then she's a weed in the garden. And now my garden that we have, which is our practice, is now tainted with this weed that could potentially bleed in and start causing issues in other areas. Right. So look for the gratitude, guys. At the end of the day, I know this is not something that's, ground shattering or earth shattering or whatever, but I think it's a good reminder. It's a good reminder to me. It was for me, just kind of reviewing and thinking through some of this, and I hope it is for some of you out there. Just every day walk in gratitude, regardless of how many people you're seeing in your office. I truly and firmly believe this. The more that you can walk in gratitude each and every day of your life, it doesn't matter what this person over here is doing, how many people they're seeing, how many people you feel like you need to be seeing. You are going to be joyful, and it's going to enhance the quality of your life significantly. And I know I'm talking about this as if like I have it all together. Please know I don't have it all together. I really don't. It's something that I'm working on constantly. Just like I mentioned before, like it was a reminder to me of what I did in the beginning. And now as I'm having all of these thoughts and concerns and stuff resurface in my life, I'm reminded of what I did previously to kind of build resistance to those things. I know you guys can do the same. I know each and every person that is listening to this can benefit. So with that, love and appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in and letting me just kind of share from the heart. I hope you guys go out and crush the rest of your weeks, serve a lot of people, change somebody's life with chiropractic. You don't need anything else, just chiropractic, right? Have complete and total faith in the ability that you have to change someone's life, and that their life is going to change as a result of that. So it's going to be amazing. Love you guys.
Anthony, fantastic. Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. Happy to share. I lost my hat at some point.
I know. You just talked your hat right off.
That's a first for me.
Yeah, right? Oh, yeah. Such a great reminder. And that's why we do this, right? So we can just kind of touch each other, dip, remind each other how much, what our purpose is, what our focus is, and keep each other in check too. So I know that appreciation and love is exactly what Dr. Sid always made us say. I love and appreciate you. So appreciation is a beautiful place to come from. So thank you so much for that. So this is my first experience hosting. And at this point, I have no idea what we do to end. So I'm hoping Kat will pull that up.